Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Saturday stream. My name is James McCool. I'm the owner of PatriotsDFS.com. And we're going to be talking some football like we do every Saturday. We had a earlier stream this week going over the Thanksgiving slate. And that was fun. The Thanksgiving slate was an absolute fucking train wreck. It was not fun literally at all. I mean, it was, let's see, we had to deal with, first it was the injury to DeAndre Swift, right? DeAndre Swift is 70% owned. Next, it was Marquise Goodwin who got injured, and then it was, let's see, Ezekiel Elliott got banged up. He had the injury to, let's see, I don't remember. There were so many injuries. There were like 4 major injuries that just destroyed lineups, and that was fine. Like that's mostly how Thanksgiving slate should go. So it is what it is. If you got crushed, then life can be very, very hard sometimes when you just get dominated by NFL. But it is what it is. So, oh, good. Now Steve Wilson's kids can eat. Yeah, I mean, well, you know, they have to earn it. They have to earn it by letting me go live first. If they don't let me go live, then they can't eat. Every time you make a parlay, you lose by a point or a yard. How is Thanksgiving? Every time that I make a parlay, I don't make parlays very often. But when I do, I end up losing by the long shot bet that I put in there. And that's really why I use parlays. I just use them for fun. I don't really use them to make a whole lot of money. I know that there's that that fun little conversation going around of, well, parlays are actually good and we should actually do them. Or round robins are actually good and we should actually do them. Like you gain more edge by doing parlays on player props. I'm skeptical of that. I'm just very skeptical of that. It's like sports bettors have been doing sports betting things for so long. And you would think that professional sports bettors would have said, hey, here's something that is actually good. But nearly every single professional sports bettor says, hey, parlays are bad. So, I don't know. People who are saying, like, you should use parlays on player props because it gives you a better edge. If professional sports bettors found that that was not something worthwhile doing, then I'm a little bit skeptical of doing it for more amateur bettors. So, that's a little bit of my thoughts on that. Wallard and mood lighting. Yeah, so Tribe, since last time you tuned in, which was, I don't know, so what, 6 months ago or something like that, because you hate me. Margaret has rearranged the room a little bit. We got some better background here, for sure, with the lights going on and with the bookcase over there and with the art above me. There's even art over there. There? Yeah, over there. So, it's pretty good. Yeah, Margaret does a great job. Why is Jefferson always solo owned? Because Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins, man. People don't like playing wide receivers that have Kirk Cousins as a quarterback, which, I mean, a lot of the time makes sense. But, like, even if we go and look at Justin Jefferson's overall season, I think Justin Jefferson has been good so far. Let's see, fantasy points. So he had 12, 18, 26, 20, 19, 16, 4, 15, 23, 36. So it's like he's had weeks where he failed, for sure. His target percentage has been good overall as an aggregate, but like there are weeks where he fails. But for the most part, I mean, if a running back had these weeks, then they would be a very, very high-owned commodity. So, I don't know. People don't like playing because it's Kirk Cousins. Because they have Kirk Cousins thrown to them. You have 4 kids and you only stream during dinner? What do you want me to do? This is when I can stream because I have one child that is the size of 4 children. And so, like, this is when it works for me. This is when it works for the people that are not tribe. Yeah, I do stream during my child's own bedtime. Margaret, leave me alone. Anyway, we're gonna kind of jump into things here. I've been rambling for enough time here, so we're gonna do what we usually do. We're gonna go into the Vegas stuff first. I'm going to be drinking through it, and then we are going to be jumping into lay models and talking through a couple of the projections. I think that there's like kind of some weird ones. Well, I don't think there's really that many weird ones. Maybe there are. I don't know. We're gonna have to find out. Okay, so let's jump in before my chat just fucking falls apart. All right, so we're gonna be using the Fantasy Labs Vegas tab as usual. We're going to sort by live over/under. So we have 2 games above the 50-point threshold. One of them already took place. The other one is this Buccaneers at Indianapolis Colts game. It's a 53 over/under. 62% of the bets are on the over. It is raised 1.5 points. And the Bucs are 3-point visitor favorites. 3-point away favorites. So that's pretty interesting. The 3-point favorites on the road against the Colts. Colts have been a pretty good team. Obviously, the Bucs are like basically a Super Bowl favorite, so it makes sense they would be 3-point favorites. They did only open up as 1-point favorites and have been bet forward. 6-7% of the bets are on the Bucs. Obviously, a good game to target. However, it is worth saying that the running backs in this game have a pretty large market share of the actual scoring equity. So obviously Jonathan Taylor is pretty much the entire Colts offense at this point. And Leonard Fournette has been pretty greedy in terms of his market share. He does have a 15+% market share of the targets and red zone targets, and he also has 50+% of the rushing yards for the Bucs, usually 60% plus. So there is certainly a way that this game just turns into a rushing upside game. When we go and we look at the pass splits, so we'll go ahead and look at it here on the thing. What am I doing here? Oh, why is this over here? Anyway, when we go ahead and look at the pass splits, Tampa Bay has been top 5 in terms of pass adjusted pass script for the entire year. They're sitting at 70% right now. Indianapolis has not been. They were for a little while, but they've dropped quite a bit. So their overall pass percentage is only 56% because in the second half they do end up running a lot if they're in the lead. And the adjusted script is 63%. When we look at the red zone splits, Tampa Bay, again, very high. They've been high all year, 73% adjusted pass rate in the red zone. Indianapolis, very low, only 40% in the red zone. So Indianapolis mostly just wants to run the ball once they get in the red zone. Tampa Bay happy with continuing to pass and getting Tom Brady passing touchdowns. So, I mean, that speaks a lot more to a Tampa Bay stack than it does to a Indianapolis stack. I think the way that you do that is mostly focus on the Tampa Bay side. Bring back Michael Pittman Jr. I do think that there is a way for this game to just be like the Leonard Fournette and Jonathan Taylor show. People aren't really going to be on Jonathan Taylor because it is the Bucs, so you'll get him at low ownership again this week if you plan on actually going towards that. The other game that was a 50 over-under is the Raiders at the Colts, sitting at a 51 over-under. Obviously, that game went over it. It was a really, really good game to stack. I stacked it. It didn't matter because fucking Thanksgiving slate. Next game that we have is this Vikings at 49ers game, which is a 49 over-under. It did open at 46.5. Has been bet up 2.5 points with only 52% of the bets on the over. So it means there's probably plenty of good money coming in on the over for this game. The Vikings opened up as 6.5-point underdogs on the road against the 49ers and have been bet forward to just 3.5-point underdogs on the road. That basically makes this game a pick'em. 66% of the bets are on the Vikings to cover that spread, so it is the public bet. But that being said, the 49ers still favorites here. Applied to score 26.25 points. The Vikings sitting at only 22.75. This game is like getting a little bit of steam, I guess. People are wanting to play Jimmy Garoppolo because he's cheap. Of which case, like, I said it in the Discord today, but people who want to play Jimmy Garoppolo wear multiple condoms on a first date to just get, like, over-the-pants action. I mean, like, Jimmy Garoppolo has literally no upside. He doesn't win people GPPs. I don't know why anybody would be talking themselves into using Jimmy Garoppolo. It doesn't make sense. On the other side, Kirk Cousins is probably a better option because he has Justin Jefferson, and people usually ignore Justin Jefferson for whatever reason. But this isn't really a game that I'm interested in. I understand that it's a 49 over-under, but, like, frankly, both these teams just want to run the ball. They don't really want to pass the ball. So if we go and we look at the pass splits again, San Francisco has been one of the run heaviest teams in the league. They run it. They only pass 50% of the time they adjust pass script. That is absolutely minimal. Minnesota has been middling in the second half of games. If they have the lead, they prefer to be more run heavy, but overall, still just 63% pass rate in the adjusted script. When we go into the red zone splits, San Francisco is sitting here at 57%, slightly more than their regular script. Minnesota, one of the run heaviest teams in the red zone, just 41% of the time they're passing in the red zone. So even if you want to say that this game is going to be a 49 over-under, like even if you want to agree with this over-under here, it's a very good chance that it just comes from the running game. Like Dalvin Cook is a way better play than anybody that is expensive in this game. Eli Mitchell, who's only 5,400 this week, is a way better play than anybody else in this game. But there is, like, if any of my subscribers play Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm just canceling your sub. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. That's like such a bad play, especially if he ends up being like relatively chalky. If Jimmy Garoppolo is 10% owned or more in any GPP, that's just paying the rake. Those lineups suck. Thank you for the Jimmy G take. Dude, I'm just speaking truths here. Absolutely just speaking truths. We'll answer a couple questions here. Let's see. No mod for Margaret. I should give Margaret a mod here. I don't know. How do I do that again? Somebody remind me how to make Margaret a mod. Any interest in those weird running backs in Tyler Johnson or Hilliard? And if so, which one do you like more? Let's see. Models don't love Hilliard just because the over-under is super duper low. Tyler Johnson is better, 4,300, but I mean they both project pretty badly. I have Tevin Coleman being the guy getting the majority of the work. He's probably the cheaper play that I would be into. But like if you're going to be paying down at running back, just play Eli Mitchell because he actually projects super duper well. Is MVS a thing? I mean, he's been a thing all year. Like, he gets really, really good targets. He's the wide receiver, too, in that offense for sure, but he's not going to have those, like, 4 for 123 in one games very often. They'll be more infrequent, but when they do happen, like, it's going to be good. You just don't want to play him when he's chalk. Like, play Marquez Valdes-Scantling when he's not chalk. Clip and share it? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what we need to do is we need to get Cookies in here. We need to get Justin in here to turn that into a meme. Because, like, that's the truth. I don't know how to do any of that shit. So if anybody wants this recording after this, I'll send it to you and you can clip it for me on Twitter. Because that clip should live in infamy. I'm going to put that on a shirt. All right, let's jump back into things. So the next thing that we have is this Chargers and Broncos game, sitting at a 47 over-under. It's been bet up 1.5 points. 56% of the bets are on the over. The Chargers open up 2.5-point underdogs, which is hilarious. Why the fuck would they be underdogs? They have been bet forward to 2.5-point favorites. My guess is that splits up to 3.5. Probably 65% of the bets are on the Chargers, but like, come on, the Chargers never should have been underdogs when this line opened. That's so silly. Broncos are not actually a good team. They're mostly just like, I don't know. They had an easy start to the season, and like now they're not a very good team. The Chargers stacks are probably going to be okay. You have to bring back Jerry Jeudy because he's really the only offensive player for the Broncos that matters at this point. But I probably don't have a lot of interest in this game. I like Austin Eckler. I like one-off pieces. I don't mind a secondary correlation stack of like Keenan Allen and Jerry Jeudy or something like that. But I don't have a lot of interest in this game overall. Moving forward, a game that I am very surprised has such a low over-under. It's just a 47 over-under here. The Rams at Green Bay. So Green Bay open up as 3-point favorites, are now 2-point underdogs at home versus LA? Man, that's crazy. Really? Really? Hold on. Where's my pass efficiency stuff? I mean, this game isn't on the slate, but that's going to be a good game. Oh, wait, no, that should be on the slate, right? Yeah, that's on the slate. I don't know why. I don't know why Green Bay is not a favorite at home. That's really, really weird to me. They should be favorites. This game should be really good. I'm surprised this game does not have like a really high total. I would think that this game would have a total of like 52 at least, probably 52, 53, something like that. I have a lot of interest in this game. There's a lot of different ways you can stack it. OBJ is probably still a little bit too cheap. Green Bay is Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. Matthew Stafford. And LA is like that. I don't know how this game is such a low runner. That's really surprising. So I have a lot of interest in this game for sure. On both sides. Aaron Jones should be back. So A.J. Dillon taken completely out of consideration for DFS. But outside of that, yeah, there's a lot of things like in this game. So I'm surprised the over-under is really low. Stack Chargers and play Jimmy G. Fuck off, Zach. Don't. That's incorrect. Let's see. Next game that we have here is not on the slate. This is Browns-Ravens. It's Browns-Ravens. Take the under on the game. We have the Seattle Seahawks at Washington. Again, not on the slate. 47 over-under. Russell Wilson has looked like absolute trash. That game, I don't know. Like when we go look at the efficiency stuff, Washington, I think, should actually be favored here. Washington looks like the better team. Granted, Geno Smith probably has plenty to do with like the reason why Seattle has looked bad in terms of pass efficiency, but Russell Wilson hasn't been much better. So, game's on the slate. Not super interested in it. We have the Falcons at the Jaguars. This game opened as a 51 over-under. Has been bet down to 46. 62% of the bets are on the under. I think that's probably a bit of an overreaction to how bad the Falcons looked on primetime, right? I mean, that's like... That doesn't surprise me that the public is like super down on the Falcons. And obviously the Jaguars are just fucking train wreck. The Falcons are 2-point favorites here on the road against Jacksonville. I don't know. I don't think that I have like a whole bunch of takes here. Cordell Patterson is questionable. I hope that he plays. If not, it's going to be Quadri Olison and Mike Davis, and we don't know who's actually going to get the work. It's probably Quadri Olison. For Jacksonville, they just lost Jamal Agnew. People are going to want to play Laviska Shenault, and just don't play Laviska Shenault. It's a trap every single time, and he's just not very good at football. It's actually really funny that Laviska Shenault is on a team with Tavon Austin because they're literally the exact same player. And everybody who like wanted Tavon Austin to be a thing now wants Laviska Shenault to be a thing, and like they're gonna be wrong both times, which is hilarious. That's some fourth wall shit. But yeah, I mean Marvin Jones is a good play. He's probably the only play that I really care about for the Jaguars. For the Falcons, Cordell Patterson, Kyle Pitts, both gonna project really, really well. There's actually upside for this game. Trevor Lawrence does not project badly. Matt Ryan does not project terribly. There's passing upside for this game for sure. And there's secondary stacks to be had as well. You know, going with something like Kyle Pitts and Marvin Jones is really, really easy if you don't want to trust the quarterbacks. So I think there's a lot of things to go in this game. No love for James Robinson. I mean, there's, yeah, sure. I mean, I guess. Let's see. Am I okay with James Robinson? Yeah, I mean, he's okay. Project for 13. It's not terrible. I don't mind him. But yeah, I don't mind stacking this game. I think that game should actually be... it's one of those games where, like, the teams are so fucking bad that you almost think that it's a train wreck that is going to become just a slop fest and a lot of throwing and a lot of, like, sloppy defensive play and stuff like that. So the game could go off. I don't hate it. My models really like Trevor Lawrence, actually. So there's some interest there, I think, in large field GPPs. Next game is the Eagles at the Giants, 45.5 over-under. We're getting into kind of lame games here now. The Giants are 3.5-point home underdogs. Giants just a laughing stock, man. They're so bad. The Eagles have been exceptionally run-heavy in the recent script. So when you go to pass splits, Philadelphia is only passing like 42% of the time in the adjusted script, only passing 43% of the time overall. Just so pass heavy in the recent script. Like Miles Sanders went down and they were just like, all right, fuck it. We're just going to use 6 running backs and we're just going to run it down their throats over and over and over again. Why not? Let's give it a shot. and Miles Sanders is back now, and they're super, super run heavy, so that makes Miles Sanders like a pretty intriguing play. You just have to get yourself around the fact that Jalen Hurts might take every single one of his rushing touchdowns. So, but they've been super, super rush heavy. The Giants have been not as rush heavy, right? They've been middle of the pack 64% of the time. When we look in the red zone stuff, Philadelphia, again, just the run heaviest team in the league, only passing 37% of the time in the red zone. New York Giants only passing 50% of the time in the red zone, so probably a lot of upside for the running backs here, not quite a lot for the wide receivers. There's also a lot of injuries for the Giants. I do think that with the injury to Kyle Rudolph, it makes it so... Who's that tight end for them? I should know his name. Evan Ingram. Makes Evan Ingram interesting. Probably not good, but interesting. I think that it's probably Darius Slayton that is like the guy for the Giants, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of interest in this game overall. I think you can go like Jalen Hurts with Devontae Smith or Jalen Hurts with Dallas Goedert. But I just think that the Giants are just such a train wreck, man. I don't know what they're even going to do without Jason Garrett. Who knows? See, Jimmy G plus Chargers plus Austin plus Chenault. Man, if you do Austin plus Chenault, like, and just post that on Twitter, you'll get so many fanboys. They'll be like, oh, man, yeah. Like, look, man, people finally, like, recognize the talent of Tavon Austin. Like, he's just never gotten the opportunity, right, man? Like, and Laviska Shenault, like, he's so talented, dude. Have you seen his college highlights? And, like, they'll just be all over your dick. Because they're bad at fantasy football. They're just terrible. Shenault Lock, whatever you want to do. I mean, Shenault actually does not project absolutely horribly because there's nobody else on the team to do things. But he's just so inefficient that, like, it just doesn't... It's bad. It's really bad. Yeah, anyway, okay. Let's jump back into things here. How do I do this? I need a producer. Okay, so the next game we have... we had the Bills and the Saints. Took place on Thanksgiving, and of course the Saints got just railroaded. The Jets at the Texans. Real fire sale here. 44.5 over under. Texans are 2.5 point favorites. I don't know. Elijah Moore has been really good over the last couple weeks. I don't know if he'll be really good with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is kind of showing his ass here. He's not been great. There's no Corey Davis here. They're still missing their tight end. Like, Jets are train wreck. They're missing Michael Carter. I think people are going to be tempted to use, like, Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson, and it's like... I don't know. Jets are really bad. Even though Tevin Coleman projects okay. He projects okay for 4K, you know. The Texans, on the other hand, traded Philip Lindsay to the Dolphins, and now I guess it's Rex Burkhead time. And they have Tyrod Taylor throwing Brandon Cooks, which is okay. But I mean, you're not stacking this game. This game doesn't actually matter. I spent way too much time talking about a game that doesn't matter. Titans at Patriots. The Titans have fucking nothing. They are a completely shattered team. I don't think they have a single starter out there. Maybe Jeff Swayman's back. They don't have a single starter, I don't think. They're completely down to, like, their third string offense. This is not even an NFL offense at this point. Just the Patriots defense is just like the nuts. They're 5K, but, like, I mean, it's basically worth it. I don't see how the Titans score any points here. I just don't. Like, I'm not sure there has ever been a more free thing than the Patriots' money line and the under on 44. I think the Patriots score like 20 points and the Titans score like 6, and I just don't see how they score any points at all. So, yeah. That's what I'll say about that. I think the Patriots running backs are even just okay. Actually, you know, the last time we ran into this situation, Bill Belichick was like, all right, so the league thinks that we're washed. Let's just go out there and run up the score on this bad team. And they might do that here. Like, we might see Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris just end up crushing. I think one of them sits because there's no way the Patriots actually care about this game. Whatever running back doesn't sit tomorrow for the Patriots is just the nuts and should just be in, like, every lineup. because the Titans are not going to be able to do anything on offense. It's a third string offense. Okay, we're coming down to some real barn burners here. We have the Steelers at the Bengals, and I'm actually surprised this game is only a 43.5 over-under. The Bengals open up as 3-point underdogs, which is stupid, and went 3.5-point favorites with only 39% of the bets, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why the Steelers were ever favored in this game. It's stupid. The Bengals are absolutely the better team. It's not even close. And the Bengals actually project it's a pretty good stack. There's a lot to like about Joe Burrow with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. There are a lot of things to like there. So let's go take a look at the pass splits. I think both these teams have been relatively run-heavy. Maybe middling? No, Cincinnati has been above average. 6-7% of the time they're passing in the adjusted script. They dropped down a little bit in the second half. Pittsburgh has been very run-heavy, 54% pass in the adjusted script. When we look at the red zone splits, Pittsburgh has been very pass-heavy, 72% of the time they're passing. Cincinnati has been in the top 10 in passing. So, yeah, I don't know why this game has such a low over-under. It doesn't really make any sense to me. I would want the over on this. You just basically have to think that the Steelers' offense literally can't do anything. I think the only way that it comes in under this like 45 mark, because I think at least a 45 over-under on this game. The only way that happens is if the Steelers basically just don't score anything. Because I think the Bengals are able to move the ball at will here. Like, they're a good team. So if you think the Steelers are just absolutely washed, that's the only way that this game is like an absolute under. Otherwise, like, the Steelers looked competent the last time that we saw them. I'm surprised that the public is not just hammering the over on this game, because it looks like a good game. And there's a lot of ways to go. Like, you can go with a Bengals stack with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, bring it back to Deontay Johnson. You can go with the Steelers stack with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and bring it back with either Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. I'm just surprised this is such a low over-under, because it's a game that actually does have a lot of upside for DFS. So I think the overs are good here. We have a 42 over-under of the Panthers at the Dolphins. It's down 9.5 points. I refuse to believe this opened up as a 51. That's really silly. There's not a lot to love here for DFS, I don't think. Like, the Dolphins went from 4.5-point favorites, 2-point underdogs, dropped 8 points off the spread, which is crazy. Cam Newton is a good play. I think Christian McCaffrey is a good play. The Dolphins, I probably don't want to touch them if they have a team total of just 20. That's really, really low. You can just get away with, like, Cam Newton with DJ Moore. Maybe bring it back with Mike Gesicki or Jalen Waddle if you want to. But overall, like, I don't think you need to do anything crazy. Christian McCaffrey's in a good spot. And then the last game was that atrocity that was the Bears at the Lions. Yeah, what a fucking terrible game for that. Just awful. Just the worst. All right. Cam 5.6 solid? Absolutely. Yeah. I don't really like a lot of his options. It's weird. Like, I think you can probably just go Cam Newton with Christian McCaffrey. And that's like a really weird way to go about things. But, like, Christian McCaffrey is going to account for 45% of the touchdowns scored, and Cam Newton is going to account for, like, I don't know, like, what, 60? Something like that. So, yeah, I think you can just do that. Sorry if you already said this, but is MVS a thing? Open your ears. Yeah, I mean, I think he's been mostly a thing most of the year. He's just boom or bust. Like, you basically just never want to play him if he's chalk. Let's check in on the old DFS lineups here. All right, Alec Burks doing well. Trey Young doing okay. Emmanuel Quickly not doing super great, but, you know, just the start of the second quarter. Moritz Wagner is only 0.26% owned, so he's about to go the frick off, man. Yeah, okay. So let's jump into the models now. I think we can probably jump into the models now. As usual, ask whatever questions you got. We're just going to be running through things. We're going to run through the stacks. We're going to run through individual projections. And then I'm probably not going to put together any stacks on stream, but I'll do it in my notes like I always do tomorrow. As a Rams stack, a solid build tomorrow. Yeah, I think so. I don't see why not. I mean, the Rams project well as a stack. Green Bay projects well as a stack. I don't know why that game has such a low over-under. I legit think that game should have like a 52, 53 over-under. And then Cincinnati, I don't know why. I don't know how that Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game is getting hit with so many unders. That doesn't make any sense. Anywho's it. Let's jump into things. All right, so the top overall stack here is going to be the Chargers. It is projected for 56. Projected for pretty high ownerships. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. It is, again, up against a Denver side where it's really just Jerry Jeudy at this point. Like, Cortland Sutton has completely fallen out of favor since Jerry Jeudy came back. Tim Patrick has a higher consistent target share than he does. Like, it's pretty much just Jerry Jeudy's show at this point. You're just going to be stacking Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and either Mike Williams or Austin Eckler. I think you can do either one of those things and then just bring back Jerry Jeudy. The Denver side is super easy. The Chargers side, you can get a little bit weird with it. I do actually think that doing Justin Herbert with Mike Williams and Austin Eckler, and the reason why I say Austin Eckler with Mike Williams specifically and not Keenan Allen is because Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler would both need to get there on volume as part of a stack, whereas Mike Williams can just get there with over-the-top plays. I think that if you're going to use Keenan Allen, you either pair him with Mike Williams or Jared Cook, not Austin Eckler. But yeah, the Broncos side is very easy with Jared Jeudy. I don't mind a Charger stack. I think I probably prefer Tampa Bay or Green Bay or Cincinnati or the Rams or even Jacksonville. Like that, there's a lot of different things I probably prefer. But the Charger stack is not bad. It's relatively expensive. It's got some high ownership, and there's really only one bring back for Denver. The next stack is going to be Tampa Bay. Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. That game is up against Indianapolis. Indianapolis does not project well in terms of stacks. They're the fourth worst or fifth worst stack with Carson Wentz, Michael Pittman, and T.Y. Hilton. It's mostly just because most of their points come on the ground. So they're not going to project well. But if you go with Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Robert Gronkowski, which is probably what I prefer to do, bringing it back with Michael Pittman Jr. is really easy. If you think that this game is going to be slower, I actually do like Leonard Fournette a lot, and I do like, obviously, Jonathan Taylor a lot. So either one of the running backs. I think the running backs are really good in this game. The way that I'm going to go about it is probably out of my three lineups, I'll likely have a Tampa Bay stack, and then in the other stacks, I'm probably going to aim for a Leonard Fournette usage or Jonathan Taylor. It's because I think that points will be scored in that game. It's just I don't know if it's going to come through the air through the running game. Green Bay and the Rams. So I wanted to wait to answer the question of Odell in that stack. I think that Odell is okay. Like, if we go over and we look at the projections, Odell is not going to project well yet. Obviously, like he still projects for under 10 fantasy points, but like the projections aren't going to catch up to his usage in the Rams until like it's already there. So I'm fine with it. At 5K, I'm fine with it. I don't hate it. Van Jefferson is another option that I think, OBJ going into that offense is likely going to take a lot of the Robert Woods role. Van Jefferson is still going to be valuable as an over-the-top guy that is still relatively cheap. So it's kind of dealer's choice. I don't mind Stafford, Kupp, and Higbee. I don't mind Stafford, Kupp, and OBJ. I don't mind Stafford, Kupp, and Van Jefferson. You're going to use Cooper Kupp. It's just who you pair him with. I personally think that the way that you probably are going to go about it is going to be using Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson, or fading Cooper Kupp for OBJ and Van Jefferson, which is obviously ballsy and scary, but like Cooper Kupp's super expensive and OBJ has had some time to get more introduced into the offense, and maybe it's his time to shine there. So we'll see how it goes. I do like the idea of using OBJ, though, to answer that question. On the other side for Green Bay, it's mostly just Devontae Adams. Again, like the same way that it's been all year. You can put in Marquez Valdes-Scantling for sure. If you're going with a full stack there. You would probably go Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and bring it back with Cooper Kupp or OBJ, just depending on how much money you have. Running backs are like relatively expensive this week unless you go with Elijah Mitchell or Eli Mitchell and Tevin Coleman as your combination. That's pretty much the only way you're going to be able to get a full Green Bay Rams stack, I think, because both Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams are super expensive. Next stack, Minnesota and San Francisco. Man, don't stack this game. You can use Justin Jefferson and Deebo Samuel. You can use any of the secondary stacks here, but don't full stack this game, man. Most of the scoring is going to come on the ground. Like, I guarantee it. It's mostly going to be Dalvin Cook and Eli Mitchell and Trey Lance and, like, these running plays. Like, maybe Deebo Samuel then gets involved as a running back, but, like, there's no reason to stack this game. Jacksonville up against Atlanta. Atlanta projects pretty bad. Jacksonville projects okay. I prefer a secondary stack here of Marvin Jones and Kyle Pitts, but if you wanted to stack it up, stacking the Jacksonville side makes a lot of sense and bring it back with Kyle Pitts. Matt Ryan might be completely washed at this point. Trevor Lawrence is not. Trevor Lawrence has actually been pretty good for fantasy, and he projects as such. And it's a really cheap stack, so I don't mind doing a Jacksonville stack and bringing back Kyle Pitts. The projection is certainly plenty for what the price is. And there's going to be no ownership on it, so I don't mind doing that. Going to the next one, we have Philadelphia. Like I said in this one, it's just Philadelphia wanting to run a lot. I prefer Miles Sanders over Philadelphia stack by a long shot. And then on the other side, you know, the Giants are just such a fucking train wreck. I don't trust them to do anything. So I'm probably not going to be doing anything in terms of stacking for Philadelphia. But if you're going to, it's going to be Jalen Hurts with Devontae Smith, bringing it back probably with Darius Slayton. We already talked about Denver. This Miami game, I don't have any interest in Miami stacks. I don't have any interest really in Carolina stacks. Cam Newton at 5.6 is fine. I think pairing him with DJ Moore is a good option. You can bring it back with Jalen Waddle if you want to, but like I'm not going to twist your arm to make it happen, even though Cam Newton projects pretty well. I actually prefer in this game going with a combination of Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey, where a lot of people say they cannibalize each other, but I would say that you're really just accounting for the entirety of the offensive scoring in that realm. And that's a unique way to do it as well. I think Christian McCaffrey's going to end up pretty popular, but not paired with Cam Newton. So I like doing it that way. San Francisco, again, don't stack that game. New York Jets, don't stack this game. We need to see Zach Wilson be good before you trust him enough to actually stack him. Even though Elijah Moore's been good, he has not been good with the Zach Wilson. So don't stack this game yet. Tevin Coleman looks like a pretty good value at 4K. If he ends up getting targets, like I think that he probably should. The Jets are pretty hurting for offensive talent. So I don't mind using Tevin Coleman. He's cheap enough to mitigate a lot of the downside. And then I think that's pretty much it, right? I mean, we could talk about Tennessee and New England, but they both project like absolute garbage, and I'm not touching it. I don't give a shit. And then Houston playing against... Who the fuck is Houston even playing against? I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, the Jets. That's right. Yeah, don't stack that game either. So that's pretty much going to be it. Like, it's pretty condensed this week. I like the Chargers. I like Tampa Bay. I like Green Bay, Cincinnati. There's like 4 games that I'm into. The game that has the most of my interest is probably that Green Bay Rams game, if I can find the value to surround with it. If I can't, then going with that Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game makes a lot of sense. Going with Tampa Bay and Indianapolis, I think, is going to be cost-effective as well. So there's some pretty obvious things that we want to be doing today. If stacking the Rams, who's the better bring back, MVS or Dillon? For sure MVS, not Dillon. Not even close. Because Aaron Jones is going to be back. So A.J. Dillon is certainly like not on my radar at all. Coleman versus Johnson. I have Coleman. It could go one way or another. It's my guess that it's Tevin Coleman, but it could be Ty Johnson. I don't know. We'll see. I think that based on what Zach Wilson wants to do, I think that it is more of a Tevin Coleman spot. If it was Mike White, then I would certainly say Ty Johnson, but I think this is more Tevin Coleman spot. For sure. All right, let's jump into the rest of the research stuff, and then we'll get out of here because it's already late. It's already 6:16. I got dinner to eat. I have a punching bag to put together. I bought a punching bag. because I miss fighting. So for those that don't know a lot about me, I used to do a lot of fighting, and I miss that. So I'm going to try to get back in shape using punching bag. Aaron Jones not confirmed back. They also have a bye next week, so instead him for another week of rest to make sure he's healthy. I absolutely agree with that, but I can only go off of he's questionable, and he has been practicing. So, I think that you can make the assumption that he is going to be out again. That makes A.J. Dillon considerably better. But I can't make that assumption yet as a content creator. I just got to wait until the morning. So, him being questionable and practicing a couple times this week makes me think that they want to try to get him back, at least in some limited capacity. But I would agree that with a bye week next week, there is incentive for him not to play. Thoughts on TE this week? Maybe Doyle. I like tight end this week. We'll talk about tight end here in a bit. Actually, fuck it. We'll talk about tight end right now. Tight end, I mean, it's pretty much the same old story. You know, George Kittle and Kyle Pitts projecting the best, and then Rob Gronkowski. I think Gronkowski's probably the best play at tight end. Tyler Conklin is still cheap. Jeff Swaim should have a massive workload at 2,600. He's pretty much the only starter left on Tennessee, so I think they have to use him a lot. But for the most part, just correlate with your stack. Doyle doesn't look like he projects all that well. Like, for the same price, you can get CJ Uzomah, who I prefer better. For a little bit more, you can get Tyler Conklin. For less, you can Jeff Swaim. I probably prefer Jeff Swaim. If I'm punting, I'm playing Jeff Swaim. All right, let's go over some Vegas baselines. So the team with the highest pass touchdown expectation is Tampa Bay. That's why they're one of my favorite stacks, followed by the Rams, followed by the Chargers. And then we kind of break into this like middling range, and then we drop into the guys that I actually don't want to play all that much. But these top five, like, these guys are very pass heavy when it comes to the red zone. So these are teams that I want access to when it comes to stacks. San Francisco projected for 1.69 passing touchdowns, but it's such a low percentage of their expected touchdowns. That's why you don't stack them. When we look at pass efficiency, let's see. Buffalo should have been expected to just dominate New Orleans. Tampa Bay should be expected to dominate. Only 3-point favorites and 2.5-point favorites here is silly. The Jets should be higher than... I mean, the Jets should be favored. I'm surprised that Houston is favored. Let's see. Minnesota should probably be favored over San Francisco, but not by that much. Everything else mostly makes sense. Look at the pass splits. We already talked a lot about the pass splits. Let's just jump into the projections. So we will look at QBs first. Tom Brady is top overall projected. Cam Newton looks like good value, projected for 24. Trevor Lawrence looks like good value, projected for 22. After that, hey, look at this. Jimmy Garoppolo is fucking way down here. Don't play Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm just going to hammer it home. Tyrod Taylor is projecting as chalk. Okay. That's weird. I'd rather play Trevor Lawrence and Cam Newton over Tyrod Taylor. Running backs, let's see. Looking at chalk, it's really, really distributed. There's really not any like super heavy chalk this week, which is really, really cool. Miles Sanders projects as relative chalk. Christian McCaffrey, James Robinson, Myles Gaskin, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, okay. There's not really anybody that I think is an absolutely terrible play this week. Chalk's pretty spread out. Looking at medians, Eli Mitchell is obviously a sore thumb here. Projected for 19. He's only 5,400. If he's going to be 7% owned, you should just lock him. Like, he's such a good play this week, especially if people are going to be stacking San Francisco. Like I said, Tevin Coleman projects well. Melvin Gordon projects okay for the price. And then we have, again, it's just mid-range stuff. This week, though, I do think there is reason to pay up. There's a lot of these guys who are very expensive that project really, really well. I've been living in the mid-range this year, but I think this week is a good week to pay up and try to do some splits, some up and down. Looking at wide receivers, so Jerry Jeudy projects well for the price. Elijah Moore projects well for the price. Again, I don't really trust this all that much. The first cheap-ish guy that projects well is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He doesn't project for a lot of ownership, so go crazy if you want to do that. But overall, I mean, projections mostly make sense here. Pair it with your quarterback and make some stacks. I guess, let's see. What do people want to use that the models hate? 6% owned Zach Pascal, 7% owned Ayuk. I guess Brandon Cooks. People want to play Brandon Cooks. 18% owned with a projection of 10. Like, yeah, I'll just fade that all day. And then tight ends, we already looked at tight ends. And defense, the top overall projected defense is Cincinnati. Green Bay looks good too. But again, just play whoever the fuck you want at defense. Alrighty. Is Mitchell playing? He's questionable. But, like, again, if he's questionable and he's been practicing, I have to assume that he's going to play. If he doesn't, just insert Jeff Wilson into that role. I know that he burned a whole bunch of people last week, but Jeff Wilson would get like the vast majority of the carries like he did last week. So that is going to do it for me. Should be a fun slate. I mean, there doesn't look like there's a whole bunch of condensed chalk on running backs, which is really, really nice. And I think that paying up at running back makes a lot of sense. So I think paying up at running back, paying more down at wide receiver in your stacks is going to make a lot of sense this week. I will have my notes out in the morning as usual, but we're going to do it this week. This is the week. We're going to make up for the Thanksgiving slate. We're not going to have multiple injuries in our lineup, and we are going to go to Bread City. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, if you guys want projections and to be able to download and look at all this stuff over and over, as well as with pretty much every other sport under the sun, PaterDFS.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Pater_DFS. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you later.